Hey everyone, welcome in. Today, we're diving deep into the world of European car manufacturing
Mhm.
with with a look at the European Automobile Manufacturers Association, the ACEA.
The ACEA.
Yeah,
Okay.
this deep dive was totally sparked by that Wikipedia article you sent.
Mhm.
Clearly, you're interested in the forces driving the car industry, and trust me, this one's a powerhouse.
You're right. And the ACEA might not be a household name, but they wield serious influence over the cars we drive. It's a perfect example of how a powerful group can operate behind the scenes to shape an entire industry.
Okay, so let's break this down. What is the ACEA, and why should we, the everyday drivers, care about what's happening there at Brussels headquarters?
Essentially, they're a powerful lobbying group, acting as the voice of the auto industry within the European Union. But they're not just lobbyists, they also set standards and advocate for the interests of both large and small car manufacturers.
So they're like this massive unified voice for companies like BMW, Ford, Honda.
Exactly. Their membership roster is basically a who's who of automotive giants: Mercedes-Benz Group, Nissan, Renault, Toyota Europe, Volkswagen Group, Volvo Group, the list goes on. And here's the kicker, it's not just European brands. It really highlights the global reach of the car industry and how interconnected everything is these days.
It's wild to think about how much influence they have. So are you saying this group actually has a say in what kind of cars we end up driving?
Absolutely. Think about those oil quality classifications you see printed on every bottle of motor oil. You know, the ones mechanics use to make sure your car's running smoothly. That's something ACEA has been involved with since the early 20th century, even before the ACEA officially existed.
No way, really. I had no idea those standards went back that far.
Their roots run deep. The ACEA can be traced back to a group formed in 1972 called the CCMC. It was originally founded by manufacturers from France, Germany, Italy, and the UK, kind of setting the stage for the powerhouse the ACEA would become. This long history has led to a powerful coalition of members. You are curious about who's in the ACEA club, and the list reads like a who's who of the automotive world.
So even back then, the major players in the industry were already starting to join forces.
It makes sense when you think about it. Presenting a united front is a powerful tactic when you're dealing with regulations and trying to promote shared interests. As the European Union grew, so did the ACEA's influence within it.
Speaking of influence, the article you sent in mentioned the ACA is really pushing for those Type 2 Mode 3 connectors for electric vehicles. What's the significance of that?
That's a prime example of how the ACEA tries to shape the future of the industry. Right now, we're in this fascinating transition period where electric vehicles are becoming increasingly mainstream. By advocating for a specific charging standard, the ACEA is strategically positioning themselves to influence the development of charging infrastructure across all of Europe. Imagine a future where charging your electric car is as easy as plugging in your phone.
So if they get their way with these connectors, it'll be like those round, three-pronged plugs we all use. Just a standard thing you see everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're playing the long game, not just reacting to the current state of things. Instead, they're trying to steer the direction of the industry, and in this case, quite literally down the road. But this direction hasn't been without its dissent.
It's like they're placing a bet on which technology will win out in the end. And those bets can come with some pretty hefty price tags. Right. I mean, the article mentioned the ACEA, along with automotive suppliers, account for a massive 30% of all research and development spending in the entire EU. That is a staggering amount of money being poured into the automotive sector. No wonder they hold so much sway. But hey, it's not all smooth sailing in the world of European car manufacturing. The article also mentioned a couple of big names who decided to pump the brakes on their ACEA membership.
That's right. Stellantis, the company behind brands like Peugeot, Fiat, and Chrysler, made a high-profile exit back in 2022. And they weren't alone. Volvo Cars also decided to part ways with ACEA that same year.
Wow, that's a bold move. What do you think was going through their minds when Stellantis and Volvo decided to ditch the ACEA? What were their reasons for leaving?
Well, in their official statements, Stellantis emphasized their desire for a fresh approach, something beyond traditional lobbying efforts. They wanted to blaze their own trail, so to speak. Volvo, on the other hand, specifically cited disagreements over strategies for achieving zero emissions as a primary reason for their departure.
So it sounds like there might be some tension brewing under the hood about the future direction of the industry. If major players like Stellantis and Volvo feel the need to break away from the pack, that speaks volumes.
It definitely suggests there isn't a completely unified vision within the industry about how to navigate the challenges ahead, whether it's the transition to electric vehicles, stricter environmental regulations, or adapting to the ever-changing landscape of consumer preferences.
It makes you wonder who's really calling the shots within the ACEA.
Yeah.
Who are the people at the helm steering the direction of this massive ship?
Well, the article you sent over actually had a surprisingly extensive list of past presidents. It read like a who's who of the global automotive elite. Carlos Ghosn, Dieter Zetsche, Sergio Marchionne. These are industry titans, people accustomed to making big moves and having a significant impact.
I noticed that for a long time, the presidency rotated between French, German, and Italian manufacturers. I'm guessing those are the big three when it comes to European car production.
Absolutely. That rotating presidency reflects the historical power dynamics within the European car industry. However, it also might provide some insight into why certain manufacturers might feel compelled to leave if their vision for the future doesn't align with those of the traditional powerhouses. It's not all about internal politics, though. The article also mentions something called the European Council for Automotive Research and Development, or UCAR for short.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. So it's not just about competition. They also team up to share knowledge and resources.
Precisely. Think about it. Developing cutting-edge technologies, especially in areas like electric vehicles and autonomous driving, requires massive investments and a high level of expertise. By pooling their resources through UCAR, these companies can potentially accelerate innovation and stay ahead of the curve.
It's like a high-stakes science fair where instead of baking soda volcanoes, they're collaborating to build the cars of the future. And the implications of this collaboration, that's what's really fascinating to me. It's not just about the cars themselves, right?
You've hit on a crucial point. This kind of collaborative research within the automotive sector can create ripple effects that touch numerous other industries, influencing everything from advancements in battery technology to the development of cutting-edge software.
It's like this massive web of interconnected innovation. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Lobbying, charging standards, industry giants going rogue, collaborative research. But what does it all mean for the average person, someone like me, who's not designing engines or navigating the world of Brussels lobbying?
That's the key question, isn't it? Even if you're not directly involved in the automotive world, the decisions made by groups like the ACEA, the collaborations forged, and the technologies they prioritize, all of these factors can have a tangible impact on your life.
So how does this translate to my experience as a driver? Give me a concrete example.
Think about it this way. The range of cars available to you, the price tags you see at the dealership, the safety features incorporated into those vehicles, even the environmental impact of your daily commute. These are all shaped by the complex interplay between car manufacturers, lobbying groups like the ACEA, and government regulations.
So the next time I'm reading a car review or catching a news segment about new safety features, I should be thinking about the ACEA operating behind the scenes.
Precisely. In today's world, cultivating a critical eye for these unseen influences is more important than ever.
You've definitely given me a lot to consider. This deep dive has been quite the ride. But before we wrap up, any final thoughts to leave our listeners pondering? Something to really make them think.
Remember that striking statistic we discussed? How the ACEA and automotive suppliers account for a whopping 30% of all research and development spending across the entire EU. This begs the question, what does it mean for other industries and potentially groundbreaking technologies if the automotive sector commands such a significant portion of resources and funding? Are there other innovations, other breakthroughs we're missing out on? That's something worth pondering as we look ahead to the future of technological advancement, both in Europe and on a global scale.
Well, that's a thought-provoking question to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the intricate world of the ACEA. Until next time, keep those engines revving and we'll catch you on our next exploration into the forces shaping our world.